The night he said it, the room felt smaller, like someone had closed a door I didn't know was open. We'd build things like men build things slow, practical, with the kind of shared sweat that makes you think nothing can shift the foundation. 12 years of friendship, 7 years of a business that ran on our shorthand, a look across a crowded room, a half-finished sentence, the split-second trust that turned risk into profit. Maya was the third rhythm in that song, quiet at first, then impossible to ignore. She answered to both of us in different ways. She kept the books, smoothed over our worst clients, poured us coffee at dawn. I thought I saw everything that mattered. That evening started normal. Drinks after a long week, laughter about a bad investor, my friend telling the same loud, theatrical stories he'd told 100 times. He used volume like punctuation, brash, certain. I liked the way he filled silence. It made me feel less alone in a room where numbers often felt like ghosts. Maya laughed at his jokes in the exact way that made my chest loosen. It was the sound of a person relieved to be seen. I made a note to myself that she needed that every human needs someone who hears them. Then, between the second and third glass, he slid forward on his stool and said the thing that would eventually split the room into before and after. She's leaving with me tonight. Not you. Deal with it. It was a throwaway line for him, smug, half a dare, full of ownership. The smirk did the work. For a second I thought it was a joke, and I laughed because that's what you do when your body refuses to acknowledge betrayal. But the laughter died in my throat when his eyes didn't match his grin. He looked at me like someone testing the elasticity of a friendship. I felt measured, not loved. I nodded. Not because I agreed. Not because I was weak. It was the only answer that didn't give him what he wanted. A rupture, a spectacle. Rage would have been beautiful and useless. A public confession that would have fed his smugness. Begging would have been worse. Surrender on a parade ground. Silence was the most precise weapon I had in that moment. After that nod, something unlocked in me, not violence, not theatrics, but a patient, cold clarity. The kind you get when a plan replaces panic. I walked home with the same steps I'd taken 1,000 times, counted the cracks in the pavement, as if they were items on an inventory list. I rehearsed nothing outwardly. The mask of normalcy was an asset. In the mornings I still shook my friend's hand, still sat at this same table, still let him talk himself into being the center of the room. In quiet moments, when the office hummed and the coffee machine hissed, I watched their easy glances and cataloged them. You learn a strange mathematics when trust is broken. Every late message, every canceled dinner, every laugh that stretched till long became a variable to be solved. My life narrowed to a small ledger, facts, timestamps, small betrayals stacked like coins. The mind that once loved without calculation now worked like a locksmith, gentle, patient, methodical. If you want to take something from someone who thinks they already own it, you don't bang on the door. You find the hinge they overlooked. I started to map the company the way I mapped my own rooms, where the contracts lived, which server held the backups, which signatures unlocked which accounts. I learned the cadence of our payroll, the sleepy windows when no one checked the books, the places my friend assumed were invisible because he never looked. While he flexed and joked, while Maya leaned into his jokes, as if making a life with him were the most natural thing in the world, I was counting. People romanticize revenge as a storm. They forget the quieter weather, the slow work of erosion, the patient drip that hollow stone. That night, when he smirked and dared me to react, I chose another weather. I chose a slow, precise winter that would leave nothing romantic or salvageable, only clean, brittle ruins. They say you don't notice a tree rotting from the inside until it falls. That's how it was with us, me, my best friend, and Maya. I didn't see the rot until I started looking at the way their shadows overlapped in the office hallway, or how she started wearing lipstick on days I knew I wouldn't be around. I'd always trusted him more than I trusted most people. We were opposites, but we balanced each other. He was the talker, the charmer, the frontman. I was the guy who fixed the messes afterward. We worked because we needed each other, but now I saw how that need had shifted. At first, it was small things, Maya laughing a little too easily at his dumb stories, touching his arm when she didn't used to, sitting beside him in meetings when there were open chairs closer to me. I told myself I was paranoid, that years of stress had made me cynical. But then came the late night calls, not from her to me but from her phone, at 11:47 p.m. When I was in the kitchen getting water, I saw his name on the screen, flashing like a warning light. I didn't answer. I just watched it ring until it stopped. 3 days later, they were both out of town on a supplier meeting I hadn't approved. She told me about it last minute, casually, like it was a routine thing. He texted me during the trip, locked in a deal, hand talk, we'll update later. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. That was the moment I knew, but suspicion isn't proof. So I started pulling records, travel receipts, timestamps, invoices. She'd been staying in hotel rooms built as single occupancy, but the room rates suggested otherwise. Then came the voicemails. She accidentally left one running after she thought she'd hung up. Their voices were muffled, laughing, intimate, and then her whisper, soft but unmistakable. He still has no idea. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed next to the woman I thought I'd spend my life with, staring at the ceiling while she breathed like nothing had changed. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, to pack a bag and walk out. But what would that solve? They'd just end up together, smug and untouchable, thinking they'd won. I had too much pride for that. Too much history invested in what we'd built. So I made a different choice. I started duplicating our systems in secret contracts, client lists, source codes. Quietly shifted control of the main business bank account to one that only required my signature. Most of the power in our business was already in my hands. He'd never cared much for the paperwork. That would be his downfall. He was too busy being admired to realize how replaceable he was. At work, I smiled. I let him gloat. I played the quiet partner role to perfection. When Maya brought me coffee, I said thank you. When she kissed me goodbye, I kissed her back. But I saw her differently now, like a beautiful puzzle I had already solved. I wasn't angry. I wasn't hurt. I was working. Some nights I watched them through the glass walls of the office lounge, their silhouettes framed by the city lights. She touched his shoulder once, lightly, and he leaned into it like a man who thinks the world is his. I smiled to myself. They had no idea the floor beneath them was already hollowed out by the end of the month. I'd started hiring. Quietly poached our best developer. Called in a favor from a client who owed me. I told no one. Every day, the business looked the same on the outside, but the structure was changing one careful, invisible shift at a time. I knew that soon everything would fall, and I wanted them both to be standing on top when it did. It only took 26 days to burn down everything we built, and neither of them smelled the smoke. I didn't rush. That's the mistake most people make with revenge. They go in loud, messy, emotional. I moved like a man rearranging furniture carefully, efficiently, with purpose. Each file I duplicated, each meeting I rescheduled without telling him, each vendor I reassigned under a new name, was one more brick in the wall I was building between them and everything they thought was theirs. We had one main company bank account. My name was on all of them, his too, sure, but he never checked them. Why would he? That was always my lane. And I played my role so well that even Maya still asked me when payroll was coming through. So I started bleeding it, not in chunks that would raise flags, just little transfers. Every other day, payments to consultants, equipment upgrades, compliance audits, all shell companies, all mine. I funneled it into a clean new business I'd set up in the same building, 2 floors down, under a different name. Same services, same strategy, even the same logo, just modernized. And the staff? Well, I didn't have to convince them. I just offered consistency, structure, and quiet loyalty. All the things my partner didn't. Half of them were tired of his ego anyway. The others followed their paychecks. That's the thing about betrayal. It's only shocking if you think people are loyal to you, not what you provide. I let him keep the spotlight while I moved the machinery. He did his usual chest thumping in meetings, smiling like a man who'd already won a war he didn't know he was still fighting. Maya started dressing differently at work, tighter blouses, higher heels, more perfume. Maybe she thought I hadn't noticed. I had, but I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking through her. Every night, I reviewed our internal systems, updated passwords, rerouted client access points, changed security protocols. He didn't notice the email stopping. He didn't question why vendors weren't responding to him anymore. I made sure he still got some messages, just not the ones that mattered. Then came the credit card. I took his corporate card and linked it to one of the shell accounts I controlled. Made a few well-placed purchases, overseas wire transfers, bulk orders of crypto mining equipment, even a sketchy travel agency known for laundering money. I wanted the trail messy, suspicious, something that could never be explained away as a mistake. I let it build quietly while he laughed louder, grew cockier, and kept repeating that same stupid line to my face. She's leaving with me tonight. Deal with it. And every time, I just nodded. I think that was the part that rattled them most, my calm. Maya started watching me closely, like she was waiting for an explosion that never came. But you can't see a trap when you're already standing inside it. On the 25th day, I finalized the last contracts. The client accounts were signed over to the new company. Everything legal, everything clean. On paper, our original business still existed, but hollowed out, like a building stripped of plumbing and wiring. From the outside, nothing looked different, but inside, it was already a carcass. The next morning, I submitted the financial discrepancies anonymously to the bank's fraud department, citing my partner's name, email, and card. Then I waited. I didn't feel nervous. Just ready.